The Growing Destinations podcast is brought to you by Experience Rochester. Learn more about Minnesota's third largest city, which is home to Mayo Clinic and features wonderful recreational and entertainment opportunities by visiting experiencerochestermn.com.
It is truly a local icon, and I think that residents really take pride in that. If people say, I'm from Rochester, the first thing that most people say is, well, that's where the Mayo Clinic is. And others will say, well, I've seen the Ear of Corn water tower, because it is a landmark. Personally, when I think of Brainerd, I think of Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox. Most people that visit these communities take something away and remember those. The tower does define Rochester and the region.
Welcome to the Growing Destinations podcast, where we take a deep dive into destination development and focus on a wide range of topics, from tourism and entertainment to economic development and entrepreneurism, and much more. I'm your host, Bill Von Bank. In Rochester, Minnesota, the iconic Ear of Corn water tower, a tribute to the region's agricultural heritage, has been a significant symbol of community pride for decades. Preserved by Olmsted County, this historic landmark stands proudly in Graham Park, an area poised for exciting future redevelopment aimed at transforming it into a vibrant, year-round community hub. Today I'm joined by Matt Miller, Director of Facilities and Building Operations for Olmsted County, who shares the unique history of the Ear of Corn water tower and the master plan for Graham Park. Matt Miller, welcome to the Growing Destinations podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Matt, we have a unique topic to discuss today, the iconic Ear of Corn water tower located at Olmsted County's Graham Park in Rochester, Minnesota. Before we delve into this topic, can you share a bit about yourself?
I'm, as you said, Director of Facilities and Building Operations for Olmsted County. I've been in this role for about 7 years, and prior to that, I was in a similar role with Austin Public Schools in Austin, Minnesota, and originally from southeast Minnesota, born and raised in Fillmore County, actually growing up.
Thanks, Matt. And now we're going to get into this topic that seems to have everybody's attention. At least once a week, I see something posted or I see shirts or memorabilia around the Ear of Corn water tower, which, as we mentioned, is located and it's a fixture at Graham Park on county grounds here in Rochester. Can you share the story behind the construction of the Ear of Corn water tower and its initial purpose?
It became an Olmsted County landmark and tourist attraction in 1931. It was originally constructed as a nod to one of the two main vegetables being processed at the original Chicago-based Reed, Murdoch and Company canning facility. The facility continued processing vegetables up until 2018 under a few different companies. Although the facility was demolished to make way for future development, the Ear of Corn water tower was left for community members and guests to enjoy for years to come.
And I think one of the brands was Libby, correct?
It was, yes. Libby McNeil, Seneca. There were several companies.
And as you looked at that whole plot of land about what ultimately would become redevelopment opportunity, you kept the Ear of Corn water tower. Why?
Because it's a local landmark. It's an icon to the community. It was really important for us and the county board to preserve it just because of what it means for the city of Rochester and the Olmsted County and southeast Minnesota region. So it was really important to be able to preserve it, to maintain it, and to refresh it. So it got some fresh paint, a new coat, and is ready for years to come.
Why was corn chosen as the design for the water tower to begin with?
It was chosen because it symbolizes one of the main foods that was canned at the plant. It highlights the significance of agriculture in our region. We do have a rich history of corn in this region, along with other agricultural products. We do have Kemp's in the area that processes milk products as well. And the water tower was meant to pay homage to the local farmers and the agricultural roots of the community. Even the Mayo family has roots in agriculture, even though many are aware of their medical advancements. The original artwork was a representation of the work of Rudolph Becher, and he was a commercial artist who painted the water tower originally.
It's fantastic. And the work that Olmsted County did just in the last couple of years to really refurbish it's fantastic. And it's quite a unique design. Can you share a little bit more about its architecture?
Absolutely. It's definitely an iconic structure. It is 151 feet tall, and it is shaped, as you said, to resemble an ear of corn. The design is not only striking visually, but it was once also functional. It is capable of holding 50,000 gallons of water. The tower was constructed using riveted steel plates, and its surface was painted to resemble the kernels and husk of an ear of corn, making it, as you said, a distinctive landmark in Rochester.
Do you know how many kernels are on it?
I don't know how many kernels are on it. I haven't counted.
Well, that might have to be somebody's task at the county. And how has the tower structure and design stood the test of time? I mean, it looks fantastic. I know, obviously, you spent some time refurbishing it, but in terms of structural integrity.
So it was originally constructed in 1931, so we'll soon have its 100th anniversary or birthday, if you want to say that. The structure and design have proven to be remarkably durable over the decades. In late 2021, work began to repaint and revitalize the water tower. It was more than a 3-month project, and we celebrated it on September 25th, 2021, with an event at Graham Park commemorating the water tower's past, present, and future. The commitment to maintaining the tower has ensured that it remains a beloved and functional piece of the community's heritage. We did cap the well that served the water tower, but we will continue to monitor the tower's condition for future maintenance activities.
As you went through the process of refurbishing, were there any challenges you faced?
The biggest challenge, honestly, was repainting it. So as you can imagine, there is no paint by numbers for the water tower. So one of the challenges was we sandblasted the entire structure and had to start from scratch. And because it is tapered like an ear of corn, that creates challenges to align the rows of corn to get the right number of rows of corn. So it took a few different attempts to be able to get it right. So it actually does resemble an actual ear of corn.
Going into that project, were you surprised at the intricacy of refurbishing it the way you had to?
It was my first time working on an ear of corn water tower. So I didn't necessarily know or have preconceived notions of, restoring an ear of corn water tower.
No training for that.
Nope. But yeah, the structural integrity was solid. We didn't have to make a lot of significant improvements to it. A lot of it was aesthetics, getting the lead-based paint off of it, sandblasting it, and then repainting it.
Well, the tower won Tank of the Year contest, People's Choice Award for an annual contest. What do you think made the Ear of Corn Water Tower stand out with the competition? I'm sure you paid attention. I know voting opportunities were available, looking at how it compared against others around the country, and people really loved it.
Yeah, it really comes down to the local passion for the project and for the tower itself. As with many popularity contests today, social media does play a huge role in the voting process. I do credit social media and the number of people who voted, as the People's Choice Award is purely based on the greatest number of votes. So it is really a popularity contest is what it came down to.
And you mentioned social media, and that's where we see so much engagement around this, trending on TikTok to huge presence on Facebook. Are there any particular memorable stories or reactions you've encountered?
There's probably hundreds or thousands of images of the tower, whether people are just out there for casual photography, videos of it. And I've seen several recreations that include everything, as you said, from stickers to T-shirts. It really is being recreated by a lot of people locally. It is truly a local icon, and I think that residents really take pride in that. If people say, I'm from Rochester, the first thing that most people say is, well, that's where the Mayo Clinic is. And others will say, well, I've seen the Ear of Corn Water Tower, because it is a landmark. Personally, when I think of Brainerd, I think of Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox. Most people that visit these communities take something away and remember those. The tower does define Rochester and the region. Most of my memorable stories are related to trespassing, actually, of the structure. So we do have people that like to try to climb the tower, but we have secured it to try and keep people safe. Personally, I'm not aware of any marriage proposals or silent discos that have occurred there yet. The most memorable story that sticks with me is how the Ear of Corn Water Tower was used to serve as a navigational landmark for Lobb Field. For those of you that don't know, Lobb Field was the original airport for Rochester that served the community from the 1920s to the 1960s. I've heard many locals reminisce about how aircraft would use the tower to aid in aligning with the runways at Lobb Field. The water tower played a significant role in keeping aviators on course. We all know the current Rochester International Airport, at least I do, but it used to be much closer to the heart of the city.
That's really interesting. And where was Lobb Field exactly?
It was in southeast Rochester, so it was south and east of Graham Park, where it is currently today. And obviously that whole area has been redeveloped with primarily residential development.
As we talk about redevelopment, you have at Olmsted County, there's a master plan and vision for Graham Park. Can you share some details around your vision? Obviously, the Corn Tower stands really tall as part of that vision, but talk us through the master planning you've put in place or are putting in place for that.
It really is a joint vision. It's not something that I create myself. It is done in collaboration with community members, board members, commissioners, others. The overall goal is to activate that property 52 weeks per year and really provide spaces for visitors to gather, celebrate, and learn. The future development of Graham Park aims to transform it into a vibrant community hub. Those plans include upgrading facilities, adding green spaces, and creating more versatile event areas. Some of these proposed projects include an exhibition center and transforming exterior spaces to support a variety of events. These enhancements will provide improved recreational opportunities, support community events, and foster a sense of togetherness among residents. The redevelopment is also expected to attract more visitors and stimulate the local economy.
And one of the key features is, as you mentioned, is the multi-use exhibition center. Can you shed a little more light on the facility and the types of events and activities it will host?
The current plan is for an 80,000 square foot exhibition center or building to be designed to replace existing buildings that have either met or exceeded their useful service life. The building would be used for things like local meetings, civic events, banquets, receptions, as well as public or consumer shows, national conventions, and trade shows. Spaces would include a multi-purpose arena, a lobby, concessions, catering kitchen, storage, restrooms, and staging areas, among many other functions.
What improvements are planned for the existing green space?
The latest master plan includes a program support plaza, activity pad, park lawns with trails, and a picnic and play area. The program support plaza would be able to host events like car shows, house equestrian trailers that are attending events in the exhibition center, or serve as additional parking for other events at Graham Park. The activity pad really is a nod to the fair and their needs for events like rodeo or bull riding, autocross, and the demolition derby. Having a concrete pad to support dirt events ensures functionality for other events throughout the balance of the year, without really having to worry about field or dirt conditions. Again, we are trying to provide as much flexibility for users, where if they dream it, we can hopefully match it or host it.
Sustainability is a key focus of the master plan. What specific sustainable practices and technologies are being incorporated into the redevelopment of Graham Park?
It really has been a focus, and what most people might not know is it was even before the master plan. The chiller plant for 2 of the 4 sheets of ice at Graham Marinas is geothermal based. We recently replaced the roof on Graham Marina 3 with metal that is light in color, and that helps to reflect sunlight or to reduce the urban heat island effect. We also have many stormwater features that aim to treat and store rainwater rather than releasing it directly into the city infrastructure. And for those of us in southeast Minnesota, we can attest to the importance of handling stormwater, specifically recently with the recent rainfalls and flooding. We do intend to continue this focus on sustainability moving forward. We will keep looking at light-colored roofing, evaluating effective stormwater practices, and exploring new geothermal technologies for heating and cooling needs. We also attempt to divert as much waste, specifically during the demolition phase of construction projects, from the landfill. Other practices will include our continued standard of LED lighting, daylighting spaces as much as feasible, hopefully installing EV chargers or electric vehicle chargers soon, evaluating photovoltaic solar panel installations, along with many others.
How will the redevelopment ensure that Graham Park remains a vibrant and accessible space for future generations?
For me, it's one word, and that one word is flexibility. We hope that people can see Graham Park as a place to gather, celebrate, and learn. We don't necessarily prescribe how to accomplish these 3 things, but we try to provide spaces where people find adaptability.
What economic benefits do you anticipate the redevelopment of Graham Park will bring to Olmsted County and the broader Rochester area?
We've completed a couple market studies on the property. The market study that was completed in 2022 projected annual direct spending over $8 million, indirect spending over $5 million, for a total economic impact north of $13 million. Generally, we hope to fill hotel rooms and other local businesses as much as possible, specifically on the weekends. Me personally, I was at a local restaurant on Saturday night, and players and parents from a youth baseball team showed up. They filled nearly 30 seats in this particular restaurant. We see similar impacts from the sheets of ice and the Graham Marinas. They host numerous hockey practices, games, tournaments, etc. We know that some of those teams are local, but not all of them. The Rochester Sports and Recreation Center has researched some of the same things. On the flip side, we also want to provide affordable options at the same time. It may not be reflected in direct economic impact, but we would rather see residents stay here for their event needs and not feel like they must travel elsewhere. In addition, all the planned improvements will bring construction-related impacts to the region, and the exhibition center alone, as an example, is estimated at over $30 million.
Can you outline the timeline for the redevelopment projects at Graham Park?
The current plan could see construction start on the exhibition center itself in late 2025 or early 2026. Some of the major milestones include attaining all the state approvals needed for the $8 million in bonding support we received from the legislature in 2023. Other milestones include securing the balance of the funding for the project through local bonding, soliciting bids or proposals, and getting all the construction-related permits. We are also exploring the option to collaborate with an operational partner to manage the to manage the exhibition center. We are still in the process of prioritizing and phasing the rest of the projects that are identified on the master plan. The board, or the county board, is starting to work through the budget process for 2025. That will help to clarify some of the other plans. They will also be looking at the 5-year capital improvement plan that forecasts those near-term projects.
As Graham Park evolves, what new types of events and activities can residents and visitors look forward to experiencing?
Whatever you want. So I don't want to necessarily limit the dreaming here. We don't necessarily put on events at Graham Park being the county. We probably can't host the Olympics, but I hope that people don't limit their vision of Graham Park to a fairgrounds. We currently hear people refer to Graham Park as a fairgrounds. Now, we know it does host the fair for a week every year, but it hosts so many other events the 51 other weeks of the year. Graham Park is a unique property that is ripe for people to explore and see if their dreams can happen there. If people are curious about Graham Park, we encourage them to check us out. We would love to see if we can provide a location where you can gather, celebrate, and learn.
And view the iconic Ear of Corn water tower, of course.
Absolutely. And there's multiple viewing opportunities for that.
Well, Matt Miller, this has been a fascinating conversation. Thanks for sharing insights into the history of the water tower, as well as what the future looks like for Graham Park. Well, appreciate your time, and thanks for being our guest on the Growing Destinations podcast.
You're welcome.
Thank you for tuning in to the Growing Destinations podcast, and don't forget to subscribe. This podcast is brought to you by Experience Rochester. Find out more about Rochester, Minnesota, and its growing arts and culture scene, its international culinary flavors, and award-winning craft beer by visiting experiencerochestermn.com.